Hello everyone and welcome to the session of data science. In the previous session we have discussed about the basics of R and how to install R and RStudio on Windows. Today in this session I am going to discuss about different types of R operators and the uses. Before moving ahead, I'd like to quickly introduce myself. I am Neha Ojha and I work as a software engineer in Kpro Solutions Private Limited. Kpro is a leading provider in the field of analytics, data lake, machine learning, artificial intelligence, IoT, blockchain, cloud and mobile application. So let's not waste any time and look at today's agenda. So we'll start our session with understanding arithmetic operators and how to use them. Then we'll move ahead and understand relational operators followed by logical, assignment and miscellaneous operators. So the first one is arithmetic operators. Arithmetic operators are the mathematical functions that takes two numbers and perform calculation on them. There are different types of arithmetic operators available in R, and some of them are addition. It adds two vectors. The second one is subtraction. It subtracts second vector from the first. Multiplication multiplies two vectors. Division divide the first vector with the second. Modulo operators returns the remainder when one vector is divided with the second vector, while integer division returns the quotient when two vectors are divided with each other. Let's go ahead and understand how to use these arithmetic operators. Arithmetic operators are very easy to use. We just have to use these operators between two vectors and it will give the output. I'll start with the addition operator. So we are taking two vectors and we are using addition operator between them and it will give result as 14. Similarly, subtraction, multiplication and division operator can be used. Now we'll understand a modulo operator. So modulo operator, as we have discussed earlier, it returns remainder when two vectors are divided with each other. So when I'll divide 10 with 6, it should return 4. So let us go ahead and check whether it's returning 4 or not. So here it is returning 4. Integer division, on the other hand, returns quotient when two vectors are divided. So when 10 will be divided with 6, it will return 1. Let's check whether it is returning 1 or not. So here is our result. So in this way we can use these arithmetic operators in R. Now we will discuss relational operators. So relational operators define some kind of relation between two entities. The result of a relational operator is always a Boolean value. That is, it either returns true or false when two vectors are compared with each other. R provides 6 kinds of relational operators, and they are, the first one is greater than. It checks if each element of the first vector is greater than corresponding element of the second vector or not. The second one is less than. It checks if each element of the first vector is less than the corresponding element of the second vector or not. The next in the list is equal to operator, that is also called comparison operator. It checks if the element of the first vector is equal to the corresponding element of the second vector or not. Next we have is less than equal to. So it checks if each element of the first vector is either less than or equal to corresponding element of the second vector. The fifth vector we have is greater than equal to. Is check if each of the element of the first vector is either greater or equal to the corresponding element of the second vector or not. And then last in the list is not equal to. It's just check the first element vector should not be equal to the second element vector. So these are the relational operators available in R. So we'll now demonstrate how to use these relational operators using RStudio. Now let's check how to use these relational operators one by one. We'll start with greater than. So we'll compare 5 with 2 and check whether 5 is greater than 2 or not. So since 5 is greater than 2, it should return true. So here we have. Now we'll check less than operator. So let's check whether 5 is less than 2 or not. So it should return false. Let's check it. Yeah, it is returning false. Now let's check greater than equal to. So we'll check whether 5 is greater than equal to 5 or not. So here 5 is equal to 5, so it should return true. Similarly, less than equals to check whether the number in the left hand side is either less than or equal to the number in the right hand side or not. So we are comparing 5 less than equal to 6 or not. Since the 5 is less than 6, so it should return true. The next in the list is not equal to operator. So let's check whether one number is not equal to second or not. So we'll check whether 5 is equal to 0 or not equal to 0 or not. So it should return true. So here it is returning true. The next one is comparison operators. Compare whether one number is equal to second number or not. We'll check whether 5 is equal to 6 or not. It should return false. So this is how we can use relational operators in R. So next in the list is assignment operators. So they are used to assign new value to a variable. R has two categories of assignment operators, and they are right assignment operators and left assignment operators. And in total, R has got 5 operators to assign values. So let's go ahead and see how to use them in using RStudio. Now we'll see how to use these assignment operators. So as we have discussed earlier, R has provided 5 ways to assign values to a vector. The first in the list is equal to operator. So let me quickly show you how we can use equal to operator. It's very easy, as you have seen. If I want to assign a value to a vector A, like 6, I can use A, and then I will use equal to operator, and then I'll give the value which I want to assign. So here we can do it. I have already assigned. So I'll print A and check whether 6 is assigned to A or not. We can also assign a value to a vector using this assignment operator. So I'll print A and check whether 7 got assigned to A or not. Similarly, we can assign value to A with this. I'll print A. 10 got assigned to A. Values can also be assigned to a vector with these two assignment operators. Here we have to give the value first, and then we have to use the assignment operator, and then we have to pass the vector name. So the first one is this. I'll print B. 40 got assigned, and we can also use so this is how we can use assignment operators in R. So next is logical operators. So logical operators allows a program to take decision based on multiple conditions. They also returns output in true and false format. So we have total 5 type of logical operators, and they are: the first one is element wise logical AND operator, So what it does is it combines each element of the first vector with the corresponding element of the second vector and gives an output true if both the elements are true. The second is element-wise logical OR operators. It combines each element of the first vector with the corresponding element of the second vector and gives output true if one of the element is true. The next is NOT operator. It's also called logical NOT operator. It takes each of the element of the vector and gives the opposite logical value of it. The next in the list is logical AND operator. What it does is it takes the first element of the both vectors, compares it and gives true if the both of the element is true. It doesn't compare the rest of the element of the vectors. The next is logical operators. It also takes the first element of the both vectors, compare it, and if one of the element is true, it returns true. Like logical AND operator, it also doesn't take other element of the vectors in consideration. So here the difference between the element-wise logical and normal logical AND operator is the element-wise compares each of the element of the vector, while the logical AND, the normal logical AND operator compares only the first element. And same element-wise logical OR operator compares each of the element of the vector, while the logical OR operators only takes the first element. Now let's go ahead and see how we can use these operators using RStudio. We'll learn how to use these logical operators. So we'll start with the NOT operator. As we have discussed earlier, the NOT operators returns the negative of whatever the value you have passed. So let's see what it returns when we'll pass false to NOT operator. So here it's returning true. So it returns the opposite of the value which we have passed. Now we'll understand the difference of the logical AND operator and element-wise logical AND operator. So for that we are going to define two vectors first. My first vector is A. I'm going to pass true and true to the A. And my second vector is B, and I'm going to pass true and false to B. Now I'll use normal AND operator and see what it is returning. So normal AND is returning true because, as we have discussed, it only takes the first element of the vector in consideration. Since the first element of the both vector is true, so it's returning true and it's not considering the second element of the vector. Now we'll check what element-wise AND operator is returning. So since element-wise AND operators takes both of the vectors in both of the elements of the vector in consideration, so it's comparing the first element of A and B. Since the both elements are true, it's returning true, and then it's comparing the corresponding second element of the both vector. Since the both element first is true and the second is false, so it's returning false. So this is how we can see how the element-wise AND operator and a normal AND operator behaves. Now let's go ahead and see the difference between the element-wise OR operator and normal OR operator. So let me quickly define two vectors for that as well. I'll name the vector as K and I'll pass T and F to my K. The second vector I'll name as L and I'll pass false to this. Now we'll use OR operator and see what it is returning. So it's returning true since it's only taking the first element of each vector in consideration. since the first element of K is true and the first element of L is false, so it's returning true. Now we'll see what element wise OR operator will return. So it's considering both of the elements of the vector, and by comparing the first element of each vector, it's returning true, and by comparing the second element of each vector, it's returning false. So this is how we can use the logical operators in R. Now we'll understand miscellaneous operators. So we have different kind of miscellaneous operators in R. Here I have listed 2 of them. So let's go ahead and understand what are they. So the first one is colon operators. Colon operator is used to assign a list of values to a variable. Like if you want to assign 1 to 10 to a variable, then we can use colon operators. And the second one is in operator. It is used to identify whether an element belongs to a vector or not. So let's check how to use them. So now let's see how to use colon operator and in operator. So let's suppose we want to create a vector and we want to store value from 1 to 1000 in that vector. So this can be easily achieved using colon operator. Let me show you how. So let's suppose A is my vector and I want to assign value from 1 to 1000. So what I'll do is I'll give the starting number and I'll give the end number, and in between I use the colon operator. So this I have defined my vector. Let me print A and see whether the value got assigned to A or not. So here we can see 1 to 1000 got assigned to A. This is how we can use the colon operator. Now let's see how to use in operator. So in operator is used to check whether an element belongs to a list or not. So for that, let me first create 2 vectors. My first vector is A and it has value 10. The second vector has value from 1 to 15. Now I want to check whether A belongs to B or not. So I can check that by using in operator. So it's returning true since 10 is between 1 to 15, so A belongs to B, and that's why it's returning true. That's all for today's session. In the next session, we are going to learn how to import and export data from CSV file. We'll learn how to read the CSV file, how to analyze the CSV file, and how to write into a CSV file. Thank you for watching this video. You can provide your valuable feedback in the comment section. You can also write us at feedback@kpro.co.in. To learn more about the new technologies, you can subscribe our YouTube channel on blockchain, cloud, data science, ETL, data lake, DevOps, big data testing, and cloud testing. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Thank you once again. Let's keep learning.